Welcome to The Explainer. So, today we're diving into something absolutely monumental that's hitting Ireland in 2025 and 2026. We are talking about a massive structural shift in how people save for their futures. Ireland's brand new auto-enrolment pension system. For millions of workers out there, this is literally going to be the very first time they're automatically enrolled into a retirement savings system. It's huge. It's going to affect so many of us, and honestly, I'm thrilled to break it down for you today so you know exactly what's coming your way.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our structured roadmap for what we'll uncover today. First up, the auto-enrollment basics. Then we'll look at the 3-to-1 math. Next, we'll weigh the pros and limitations. And finally, we'll wrap things up with the big reality check.
Right, so Section 1, the auto-enrolment basics. On the surface, the government's new system sounds incredibly simple, but it definitely requires a closer look.
The very first thing we need to ask ourselves is this: who exactly does this apply to? Because you see, it's not just some blanket rule for every single person in the country. That makes understanding the specific eligibility rules absolutely vital before you go assuming your retirement is suddenly completely sorted.
While the eligibility criteria are actually strictly defined by 3 exact conditions. First off, you need to be aged between 23 and 60. Second, you've got to earn over 20,000 euros a year. And third, you cannot already be sitting in an existing pension scheme. If you tick all 3 of these specific boxes, the real beauty of the design is its sheer efficiency. You are automatically enrolled. That means no complicated forms to fill out, no tedious application process. It just happens automatically.
Now, what's really interesting here is the behavioral psychology at play behind the scenes. It's what's known as a nudge cycle. Step 1, you're automatically enrolled. Step 2, yes, you absolutely do have the option to opt out, but, and this is a big but, you can only do that after you've already been put into the system. And step 3, this is the real kicker. If you do opt out, you don't actually stay out forever. The system will literally re-enroll you again every few years. It's entirely designed to repeatedly nudge you back into staying in and saving for your future.
Moving on to Section 2, the 3-to-1 math. Now, the mechanics of these contributions are where things get highly lucrative for the everyday worker.
And the breakdown brilliantly illustrates exactly how the matching structure works in the early years. It goes like this. For every 3 euros you put in from your own salary, your employer matches it with another 3 euros, which, let's be honest, is effectively additional compensation. Then, the state steps right in and adds a 1 euro top-up to that pie. Which leads us straight to this exciting magic number, 7 euros. Think about that for a second. For every 3 euros that comes out of your pay, a massive 7 euros total lands directly into your pension pot. That is brilliant leverage, right? Compared to just doing nothing and letting your cash sit there, you're instantly multiplying your money through those employer and government contributions. Let's move to Section 3, pros and limitations, and see how this builds. Because while that Euro 7 math sounds incredibly strong, we have to weigh the practical reality of the system.
So, the advantages are pretty clear. It removes the barrier to entry with automatic saving, you get those built-in employer contributions, and that nice government top-up. But there are straight limitations. You're going to have far less flexibility compared to a private pension. Your investment choices, likely much more limited. And perhaps most importantly, the contribution levels are fixed. They're set by the system itself, meaning they aren't uniquely tailored to your personal retirement goals or your specific financial situation. That brings us to Section 4, the big reality check. We need to move from just the mechanics of the system to some high-level strategic advice.
So the crucial point is this. The absolute biggest mistake you can make with auto-enrollment is assuming it's enough. Here's the reality that a lot of people might miss right out of the gate. The contribution rates in this new system, even when they're fully phased in over the years, are still relatively low. On their own, they are likely not enough to fund a truly comfortable retirement.
You really need to think of auto-enrollment as a solid foundation. It's a major starting point for your finances, like pouring the concrete base for a house, but it is not the complete, finished building. If you're currently saving absolutely nothing, hey, this is a massive step forward. However, if you are already saving or if you've got some specific long-term goals in mind, this system must just become one part of a broader, more comprehensive financial strategy. It's a great foundation, sure, but definitely not a complete solution.
And remember, this system is brand new. Over the coming years, you should absolutely expect changes, adjustments, and updates to how it operates. Because of that evolving nature, you can't afford to get complacent. You've got to stay informed and actively engaged with your retirement planning. Do not just set it and forget it, assuming the government has entirely solved everything for you.
To leave you with a wildly surprising historical analogy to really hammer this home, relying on auto-enrollment alone is a bit like assuming a small initial foothold guarantees long-term success. History suggests that approach didn't exactly scale for the German colonial empire either. It's a slightly humorous but highly memorable warning about the exact dangers of complacency. You need a bigger plan. And that's exactly why, in a future explainer, we're going to show you exactly how to build a clear, structured pension plan from scratch, step by step. So ask yourself this: if the government's foundation isn't enough, what steps will you take today to secure the retirement you actually want tomorrow? Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.